Thank you so much, everyone. I feel like my life just flashed before my eyes. It basically did with that long intro, so I apologize for that. But it's just such a joy to get to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for convening this, Congressman Aderholt. Thank you for being a leader in the high-speed internet space, and thank you all for being leaders in the high-speed internet space as well. We know that we can't get resources to the people, to the families that you talk to every single day, if it's not you getting that fiber on the lines, in the ground, or from the sky. And so I just deeply appreciate all of your investment, your legacy of work. Today, this morning, we had a roundtable, and someone said, now I know some of you have only been doing this job for a few months, others have been here for decades. This is a good place for all of us to connect. And I'm one of those folks who've been only doing it for the few months. I've been in this job for 7 months, and the opportunity to get to learn from you is really powerful. So thank you for taking the time to help make sure that I do that. And talk about people who've been here for decades. I want to also introduce Nybree Gordon, Alabama State Director for Rural Development, who's been working in rural development for a very long time, committed to making sure that we're reaching people all across rural Alabama. So with that, it's just wonderful to get to be here with each of you today to talk about bringing high-speed internet to Alabama's rural communities. It became evident in our broadband discussion today that high-speed internet is about a lot of things, but perhaps most fundamentally, it's about connection. It strikes me that there's a special connection with everyone in this room because we're serving a common purpose. We're in pursuit of common goals. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But before I get into the specifics, I want to share just a little bit about what USDA Rural Development does to connect rural Americans. Can I just see, so I know the players in the room, how many folks have worked with rural development in the past? You know, I was expecting that to be a little bit higher in this room. Okay, this is good. This is a good opportunity because you should know that we are on the ground too. Rural development is a unique mission area within the United States Department of Agriculture that has people in every single state in the nation. It has 47 state offices, but also has area offices all across the country. So it's people living in the communities they serve. You may have also worked with our general field representatives who we have today. Michael, you stand up and wave your hand. Hopefully he's a familiar face for a lot of you. He works when it comes to our rural utilities service, which is the entity that distributes the funds for both electricity, for water and wastewater, as well as for high-speed internet. In addition to that, just so that you know, we also work on affordable housing across rural America, as well as business opportunities and energy opportunities. So I want to acknowledge the work that we do and then also recognize the important work that's being done at the state. Thank you so much for the representatives and senators here. Thank you to Lieutenant Governor for being here. And for your focus on getting a true picture of what broadband, high-speed internet looks like across Alabama. You're truly leading the way when it comes to identifying where we need to be investing next. And that's something that, frankly, the federal government can learn a lot from. So thank you for your work and investment there. A few months ago, I visited a hospital in Bessemer, which hosted a roundtable with regional hospitals, many of which were incredibly small and struggling to keep their doors open. During COVID, operations pushed these hospitals to start working together, sharing resources and finding the closest, best care, a practice they are committed to continuing beyond COVID. These connections were forged in ways that were only possible because of high-speed internet. I've seen the power of it close up across here in Alabama. And you can tell from the way that all of you talk about these issues that you really get it. That as your experience in rural Alabama, you know what makes rural places special. And you understand the specific challenges that small towns, that people in rural places face every single day. I also want to thank and recognize my former colleague, Congressman Robert Aderholt. Robert and I met, as he mentioned, at the House prayer breakfast. And when I was in Congress, I just learned this actually sitting at the table today. He was younger going into Congress than I was. You were first elected when you were 30. And so I won't say how long some folks have known him as their congressman. But he was an immediate mentor to me. The National Prayer Breakfast and the weekly prayer breakfast in the House really has a spirit of camaraderie, of collegiality that in my 2 years in Congress you didn't see every day. But luckily I got to see it at least weekly, in large part because of the presence that he brought to that weekly meeting. And I can see it in this space as well, recognizing that as we come to challenges with different perspectives, those same perspectives can be leveraged to find better opportunities. And I look forward to getting to continue to do that work. As it turned out, Robert and I had a lot in common because we were both representing very rural districts. As many of you know, Robert actually helped create the Rural Broadband Reconnect program. That's one of the key programs in rural development that will implement the funds from the infrastructure bill directly to rural areas. Robert's leadership on this issue has been significant, and it continues to be important as we identify ways to improve our partnership in the future. Robert gets it. His dedication to serving his constituents is so real. So thank you for your service, Robert. You are great to work with, and I look forward to getting to continue to work together on behalf of the people of your district and on behalf of the people in rural places all across the country. Rural development works incredibly hard to follow the wishes of Congress, so it's helpful to have an open, respectful dialogue that Robert and I share. But we also work incredibly hard to follow the wishes of the people that we serve, the people, frankly, who are getting the real work done. The Biden-Harris administration wants stronger connections for all. We want to be forward-looking. So 5-10 years from now, what goals do we want to have achieved together as a nation? And I see that as an opportunity here, not just when it comes to what Reconnect can do better, but also where should we be looking in terms of building upon those connections. So we talk about internet, and that gets us somewhere, but high-speed internet is a utility. It's a tool that will also help us invest in economic development across the country. How do we make sure that as we invest in this utility, these same rural communities are leveraging that, whether it's in a poultry processing plant, whether it's in a new small business, whether it's some place that a venture capitalist is investing in northern Alabama, to make sure that we're finding what makes a place unique across rural America and investing in that, in helping bring jobs to people in rural America so kids don't have to leave their homes to find better opportunities elsewhere. So this brings me back to the concept of connection and how you and I are connected by our shared goal to bring high-speed internet to rural communities. We really agree on how important this is. It's not something we have to pretend to work together on. It's something we can find ways to work together on in general. We all know that rural America is at a disadvantage because of the poverty of high-speed connection, and it's something that must be fixed as quickly as possible. We all know how heartbreaking it is to talk to rural kids who want to learn but instead are stuck staring at that buffering screen, waiting, or who have to check in with their siblings to see what they're doing so that they can coordinate their schedules to get their homework done. We know the extraordinary lengths that parents go to make sure that their kids can do that work. And we know the difference that it makes to a rural business to be able to compete in a worldwide marketplace. Kids, entrepreneurs of northern Alabama know that they deserve the speed that people in Birmingham and Montgomery have. So you and I, we all agree on the problem, and we agree that we want to fix it. But the best part, and this is something that is rare in politics and government, we also agree in many ways on how to fix it, through investments in this critical infrastructure. Secretary Vilsack calls this kind of infrastructure a backbone. And we've all seen this in action, how high speed provides a foundation for other things to happen. I recently visited a town in Iowa where high-speed implementation immediately inspired construction of a cell tower. There was a wonderful ripple effect from that first big step of infrastructure improvement. USDA Rural Development is playing and will continue to play a critical role in that delivery of infrastructure investment dollars, and in particular because of the bipartisan infrastructure law. We aren't the only path to implementation, but we are a vital component, not just because we deliver funding, but because we are a key coordinator among federal agencies working on delivering that high speed. Now, I know that coordination is not always perfect. I know that it means more than just weekly meetings at the White House, which happens, but that granular level of how do we make sure our programs are working together. And so I ask you to be those vocal voices that say when coordination isn't happening well enough. Because I'll be honest with you, the way we can ensure that coordination is happening is if you're telling us where it's not. Meanwhile, we're leading the way when it comes to finding the right speed for internet. We look forward to continuing to have that dialogue with you so that you have predictable outcomes when it comes to developing high-speed internet. And by the way, we're also able to lead on these issues because we're connected to people like you, those in this room. Please continue to help us with this. We need more dialogue on what speed makes sense, and we want to hear from you. And we will share that with our colleagues at the White House, in Congress, and at the FCC. And I promise we'll share it right back with you. For example, there may be people here today who are frustrated with accessing priority points. And I'm here to say there are lots of ways to distinguish your application. And if you're trying to get every possible priority point, kind of like that Mario Kart game, you may have to do some difficult things. You may have to find a partner, a nonprofit, or a community-based organization, or a rural electric co-op, or a telecom, to reach those hardest to reach places that no one has dared to go before. Make a partner, make new relationships. This is how you can fill your Mario Kart with all the points and get the project delivered. Because partnerships solve problems. Reflections, so I want to reflect on some of the work that we can do when we partner together. I'm looking forward to your questions. So I'll wrap up again and say how much I appreciate being here in Alabama. Until today, most of my visits have been focused on water and the wastewater space here in Alabama. And during one visit, I met one of our loan specialists, who's no longer a loan specialist, but he was going door to door, encouraging people to sign up for water service. Because the only way we could afford to build the project is if people signed up for the service, something you all know in high-speed internet as well. And so he was going door to door, talking to people to tell them why it mattered, why it was worth it, why it was worth taking a chance on a government that hadn't always served them, that frankly had often left them behind. And that's what we're asking people to do in the high-speed internet space as well, to take a chance on the government as a partner with you, to be able to reach people who've been left behind. So with that, I want to thank you for the work that you are doing, and thank you for the chance to get to do that work with you.